you as a white man, like, what are you doing, to make a difference?
When you first asked that question, I was like, I feel like my face just went white. It was like, what do I do on a regular basis? And I can't say that I do that much on a regular basis. There are certain things that I do. And quite frankly, when I go to see a movie in the movie theater, almost every movie I've seen in the theater for the last probably 3 or 4 years is either directed by a woman, a person of color, or is starring a woman or person of color. That was, and yeah, that's really small. It's really small, but it's something I incorporate into my life. And it also means that there are movies that would be great to see on the big screen that I just don't. If it comes back, but I'm not going to spend, whatever it is, $12 to $20 to go see a movie and just to support the status quo. So for me, it's like where I spend my money is one thing that I can do that's very important. As a filmmaker, that's another piece, like my last documentary, Hardball. I was very, very aware when I was hiring these sort of the key creatives that we were virtually 50-50 along gender lines in key creatives or crew positions. Making sure that that there were people, minorities, people of color on the crew in key positions. That was very, very conscious. And then even sort of the subjects of the film, the 5 main characters. Obviously, it's a movie about women who play baseball in sort of a quote unquote man's world. So obviously, it was basically a movie, primarily women, but also women of color, LGBTQ. So like that really is important, and it's not something that I necessarily do every day. And I think that's something that when you said like what is every day, that kind of hurt a little bit. Because but it was also good. It's a question that I had to ask, like, not only what do I do every day, but what could I do or what can I change about the way that I live my life so that I also am not just posting a prayer, posting being angry. And if I am angry or posting anything on social media, guess what? Those are my friends. We already pretty much agree. There's like 5 or 10 people I'm sure that I am friends with on social media that have completely different views from me. And those people aren't going to listen anyways. And besides, I just have to say, when it comes to social media, let's be honest, how many minds have actually been changed by social media or on social media? Has that like 5 times in the history of the world? It doesn't happen. Like social media is a place where we go to basically, pontificate or be angry or find our little echo chambers.
Or just scroll up and down.
Yeah.
Waste time.
Right. So whatever we do on social media has no valid impact, really. And I think that's important. It's got to come back. It's got to get off of the virtual. Being virtually angry is not the same as being angry. Being virtually active is not the same as actually being active.
And I'm like, as you're talking, like, I asked you the same question, and I think I'm asking myself the same question. Like, what am I doing? And for me, it feels like, what am I doing to stop police brutality? And I just feel like, apart from existing, being Black is like, and speaking out about it is like, I'm actually not sure what I'm doing.
Okay, but I want to say, so, as a white man, early on, or not early on, but at a certain point in my creative career as a filmmaker, I had to look and say, okay, when I look around at what movies are being made in Hollywood, they're by and large stories of white men, by and large. And that has been that way since the beginning of Hollywood. So, to me, it became this question of, what is my responsibility? And that is actually a big responsibility. Like, I actually have to speak up. So when I'm in development meetings, I have to be the voice. If there's no one else speaking up for gender equality, for racial equality, are we going to pass the Bechdel test, for example? Like, that became my responsibility, specifically and primarily because I am not a person of color, because I'm not a woman, right? And so I think when you ask that question, I almost challenge that and say, you are actually doing something very important. One of the hashtags I've noticed that's trending and things that people have been posting is, here are a list of Black businesses that you can support in Los Angeles. Here are local Black businesses you can support, things like that. And so for you, what you're doing by actually engaging in business and in creating opportunities for people of color to have make a good living, these types of things, that is actually activism.
It but it doesn't, to be honest, it does not feel enough. You know, like, yes, I educate a few girls. I building a business that can employ quite a number of people, but it just still feels like it's not enough. Like, I am not going to watch another video of another black man being killed. Like, I just was like, it has to come to an end. It has to come to an end. Like, I will absolutely not watch another video, you know? And like I say that, and I'm like, okay, but I also don't know what to do, you know? Like, I don't want to watch another video, and I also don't know what to do. You know, it's like, is donating money to Black Lives Matter organization gonna make it end? Are my words, like people say all the time, words are powerful? Like, if I keep saying it and keep pushing for, like, you know, for black people to excel in different areas, will that make it end? You know? Anyway,
I think that's hard, and I think it's one of the things that gets people. Like, I've also felt like, hey, you know what? I show up, I vote, I do these certain small things that matters, and I think it does. But you're right. It's time for something bigger. It's time for a real conversation, and action. You know, and I think that there. You said the other day, or actually when we were talking this morning about, like, even, you know, preparing for this conversation. And I was like, I don't necessarily, I brought up one idea and you brought something else up, and you're like, I don't know what's right and wrong. And I think that that's something that in our attempt to make a difference, it's not that there is always a right or wrong. Sometimes it's two rights, or sometimes it's two wrongs, or sometimes it's just really, really murky. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because otherwise, like, I was feeling to this point, like, I don't even want to have this conversation. Because the chances of me saying something stupid, of me hurting someone's feelings, is just almost like too big. You know, like, I posted the other day on TikTok, right? And I wasn't crystal clear in my words, and there were a lot of people who misunderstood what I said and were really angry. And then a lot of people who understood and were very supportive, and a lot of people who were like, whatever, it's just a white dude talking. Like, what do you know about what we're going through? And then this sort of feeling of that, oh shoot, there's no necessarily right thing. And I think there's definitely wrong, you know, as we can see, like, what happens, like the police brutality, the violence, that is wrong. But what we do towards either making a difference, towards searching for understanding, for reconciliation, I don't know if there's a right or wrong. And I certainly don't necessarily know that I can say definitively, this is what I should do, or this is what others should do, or this is what would be best. I don't know.
I don't know either.
And it makes it hard to act in some ways, because when I do act, am I doing the right thing? Am I actually giving my time in a valuable way? Am I doing it in a way that's going to cause more good than harm?
I feel like there's one thing, though, I feel like I know what to do. And I think, like, where you spend your money, like, I think, like, that is, like, if you don't know what to do, spend money.
You mean spend money specifically, like supporting black businesses,
spend money supporting a black person, put a black kid to, like, help them pay their college, like, do something that actually involves money. Like, that to me feels like the thing to do right now.
Yeah.
You know, like, writing a post is not helping. You know, like, that I feel like is not really helping. But, like, being a mentor to, like, a black person who's struggling, or, like, that to me feels like that's what helping in this moment feels like. Is like, let's spend money and support black businesses, support black children.
And I think that's probably been one of the bigger ones, is supporting the black businesses, because what's happened, you know, systemically over the years has been, you know, was 30 or 40 years, right? Where, like, black people in America could not get credit. So they couldn't buy houses. And the houses that white people were able to buy ended up basically being how they were able to finance their kids to go to college. That you have an entire generation or two of African Americans who did not have that opportunity. And now when you look at higher education institutions like UCLA, you're like, I'd seen every black person on the campus of 40,000 people because there were so few of us. All right, but that wouldn't be the case when you go to LA City College. That's not the case when you go to smaller public institutions, because that's kind of like that's for you almost, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that in some ways, it's like, is the best thing to do to, to donate money, or is the best thing to do to actually go say, you know what, I have to spend X number of dollars every month to survive, whether I'm buying, I have to buy food, I have to buy clothes, I have to do these things. Like, yeah, where you spend that, I think makes a bigger difference. And you need that anyways. Even when you were like, in setting up your business examples, like, what do people need anyway? What do people need? And we need a lot of, like, in our modern world, we need a lot of things to keep our lives going. And in that case, where you spend your money is huge. And then it's not a matter of I'm just donating, or it's not a pity thing or anything. It's like, no, actually, I have to buy this number of things. Who is going to get that money so that they can actually support themselves, so they can actually grow the strength of their communities?